It's gotten to the point where I don't even know the real version of me anymore, because whether consciously or subconsciously, I constantly code switch depending on the environment that I'm in. Not gonna lie, it's not new code, new me. It's the same me, it's just a different version. I've found that each code serves its purpose. Each code has its benefits, but the one that I have to use the most often is this one, which I like to call my white voice. But allow me to introduce myself properly. Hi, I'm Montana and I'm a code switcher. This is my code, yeah. Around my friends, this is my most authentic self. I feel like it's the most comfortable because I don't think about it. Like, I'm not thinking about, oh, I should say this now, or I should be like this, or I should be anyhow. I don't think about it. I feel the most comfortable dressed like this, being like this, speaking like this, looking like this. I wouldn't even necessarily say this is a code. I think this is just me, but then I have to code out of this one, code switch out of this one. So this is my dominant self, is what I'd say. Hallelujah. This is my code for when I'm at church, when I'm around like my minister or around brothers and sisters in Christ, and I obviously talk a different type of way. I'm not going to be using slang or anything like that. It's not myself, it's just an extension of myself at church because I know the time and the place to speak like this. I'm very polite and I am very put together. Of course, like we want to put the best foot forward. This is when I'm coming into the house of God, and as I believe in God, then I want to present my best self. This is a code that I am in when I'm with my family. It's not really a code. As I said about my friends, like it's more me. So it's not like I have to think like, oh, I need to be professional. I need to talk with slang. I need to fit in. I don't need to, yeah, that's it. I don't need to fit in when I'm with my family because I already fit in because it's my family. So it's like I can do whatever I want and be how I want. So this code is most definitely my white voice. I like to refer to her as Hannah, so the white side of me. This is the code that I use when I am in an interview, when I'm at work, when I'm on the telephone, when I'm in public and I have to smile at people. This is me being the white British, as white British as I can be. It's very much a code for assimilating into the culture that I'm predominantly around, which is white British culture. It's a very professional side, very professional presenting. As you can see, as how I'm dressed, it's very corporate. This is the code that I feel uncomfortable being in, and I hate the fact that I have to be in, like I have to change who I am to be in that. I feel like it's the code that I'm most like, oh, like why did I do that? I feel like this is the code that I switch into the most because it's what I have to switch into the most, because if I come as I am, sometimes it's not appropriate. So those were different examples of me in my different codes, but what actually is code switching? In the simplest explanation, code switching is switching between different codes, this being languages or dialects. It is most commonly used to refer to bi or multilingual people switching between two or more languages, whether in the same sentence or phrase. But colloquially, it can refer to the way that we change our expression subtly depending on the situation you're in or who you're around. It's something that we all do without realizing. Think about how you'd speak in a formal versus informal situation. The way that you would change up how you speak, how you would communicate with your body or your facial expressions, it's just a natural thing. However, it is more of a necessity for the marginalised groups within society, especially Black people, as it gives us a tool to be able to assimilate into the environments needed for success, such as at the workplace or in front of law enforcement. But let's be real, it's mostly used to navigate the white-dominated spaces in society. It's like Frantz Fanon discussed in Black Skin, White Masks. We've learnt to reproduce whiteness, mostly due to how we are viewed because of our skin colour. It also leans into the idea of double consciousness too. That is, looking at oneself through the eyes of others always. For me, it's the idea of being Black British. Even though I was born and raised here, for some people I'm too Black to ever be British, and I know that if I went to Jamaica, I would definitely be considered British. So code switching is the ideal way to navigate this, but I didn't want this whole documentary just to be from my perspective. That would be too main character. So I asked my friends to see if they could relate also.
Hi, my name is Yemisi.
My name is Faye.
My name is Chukudao Peter Nwosu.
Hi, I'm Tanya, I'm 23.
So how do you identify? What's your ethnicity and your nationality?
I mean, it depends who's asking. I say I'm Black British, but really I'm Nigerian, babe, yeah.
My nationality is British, ethnicity Nigerian.
I identify as Nigerian and I'm Black.
I identify as a Black British. However, I know that I'm African.
What are some of the reasons why you code switch?
I code switch to just to be not made fun of, just to get through the day and also to be heard. I think if you talk in a Nigerian accent or any other African accent, like it's impossible to get anything done. You know, no one can hear what you're saying, so it's just easier just to try to emulate the British accent as much as possible.
I would say I code switch dependent on who I'm with, based off of the relationship that we have. For example, if I'm at work, it's very like, oh yeah, and like, oh you're right, how are you? Like, it's very like English chatty, if that makes sense. But that's because I'm around English people, white people, so that's the way I'll speak. But yeah.
It sounds bad, but to seem more professional. Because if I'm saying to my manager, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't lie. I'm not gonna be able to come to work still. Like, it's I can't do that. Like, I feel like I'm gonna be seen as unserious. But if I'm articulating myself properly and I'm using these words and my accent sounds white, I'll be seen as more professional and more, let's say, reliable or serious, basically.
Sometimes at work I definitely have to, because it's like my job. Yeah, I have to do it for work, but yeah, it's not too bad. There's quite a lot of us at work that do it anyway. So we're just like, and then we just look at each other like, oh, you just did it again. We're like, oh, you got to get it for the bag.
Do you think code switching helps you?
I think it does help actually, because it's like in life you're gonna come across like different types of people, so you're gonna have to be able to adapt and be able to communicate with them anyway, especially for work and for life anyway. So I feel like it's kind of good to code switch, not to like a serious extent where you're like a completely different person, but just to be able to communicate with people so that they understand you and you understand them. So yeah, it's quite important.
Yes, but it also prevents me, because I feel like I'm wearing a different face for different people. Like when I'm back home in Nigeria, I'm a different person. When I'm in England, I'm a different person. So it helps, but it makes me feel I don't know who I truly am. I guess so. Yeah.
Is our generation using code switching differently to the older generation, do you think?
I think we are more aware that we need to code switch. Whereas I've spoken to my mum before about things and she's just like, well, I'm an African woman. This is how I'm going to speak. Obviously, yes, she does change her voice a little bit, but she's more firm in how she is. Whereas I think we're more willing to switch.
I think with our parents, they had to code switch to actually survive financially and to get jobs.
But I feel like with our generation, it's more about communicating with other people, like just getting to know more people, because I feel like our generation is way more open than the older one.
The older generation are more so integrating into the British accent or way of speaking, whereas I feel like our generation, we're probably more so like moving away from that, but we're still able to code switch when it's necessary.
So interviewing my friends showed me that although there were some different perspectives, ultimately the experiences were very similar, which is what I thought I would hear. But I was most interested by their perspectives on the differences between our generation and the older one. So I wanted to broaden my scope of investigation and look at code switching intergenerationally. So with that being said, I took a trip home to interview my nan and compare our experiences of code switching, especially as we are 2 generations apart. So, hello.
Hello.
Sorry, you're already doing it. You're already doing the voice. Okay, so first of all, just going to start by introducing yourself and saying who you are, what your name is.
Right.
So, what's your name?
Oh, my name is Veronica Violet Roswell.
You can say Gwen.
Everybody call me Gwen. And that's the name I like.
We're 60 years apart. Did you know
Yes. Oh, blimey.
that? And where were you born?
I was born in Jamaica, St. Anne, Scarborough.
And where do you currently live?
Oh, my life from when I was born till 25, I was in Jamaica. And then I moved to England. When I was 25, I moved to England. That's 62. think it was 1962, something like that. Yeah.
And how did you feel moving from Jamaica to the UK?
Absolutely horrible. When I first came to England, I came to Derby, where my mother was living, and I absolutely hated it. It was horrible. It was cold. I've never seen sun from I leave Jamaica till the following year. And that was the coldest year for 77 years. I was absolutely sick. Couldn't understand why. But that's how it was those days.
How did you deal with because obviously you must have come with a strong Jamaican accent.
Oh, yes, I did.
Did a lot of people understand you, or did you have to change how
not
you
really. I kind of have to slow down to let the white people understand when I'm speaking. Because I want to say what I used to say back home. Oh, what me now go there? I come here. So I have to change that into, I'm not going there, love. Come here. So I got to change up tongue completely to let the English kids understand me. Yes, I did have to a lot. Yeah.
So I spoke to my nan about her new life when she came to England, how she felt, the racism she witnessed and experienced, the job she had, the pressure she may have felt to talk a certain way for roughly 40 minutes before we really went into code switching. As we spoke, she got more comfortable and started to drop her white voice. So this is where me and my cousin Eldon started to ask her questions about her experiences of code switching and where she answered more openly and freely.
Because in Jamaica, as you know, it's a lot of patois, you see. But when I come to England now, I got to drop that patois at the airport and pick up a different tongue coming into Great Britain.
And did you ever resent that? Did you ever feel like, why should I have to do that?
No, I never.
Or you just thought that's how you did it?
That is when with my people. With my people, I don't business. But when I'm with the English person, I have to slow down and speak properly so they understand exactly what I'm saying to them. And they don't keep saying, what? When I speak proper English to them.
So it's more out of convenience for yourself?
Yes.
Rather than trying to appease them?
No.
It was just so they can understand?
Just so they can understand that I can speak the language that you're talking, I can speak the same language. I don't have to wonder, is this word right or is that word right? No, I speak the right words to you as an English person. Yeah. Because, as I said, because it don't come from just in England, you see.
Yeah.
It's coming from Jamaica.
Yeah.
I have English children, I have American children, I have Chinese children, and other children to deal with. So I have to know what I'm saying to them when I'm talking to them, because I was working with them. So that is where I also get my proper English from before I come to England.
Yeah.
So when I come here, it was no problem to me. I could speak to anybody and they understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is why. Because up until now, many of the Jamaicans in Swindon here still cannot speak to an Englishman and they understand what she's saying or what he's saying. They still speak in the patois.
Yeah.
And you cannot understand that if you're not a Jamaican. Because it's hard to understand.
So when you was at home, with, mum and your children, how did you speak? Did you just speak in...
Patois.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
And but then, they grew up...
Yeah, they understand exactly every word I'm saying. Because they grew up with us. And we know what we're saying and they know what we're saying too. So it was no problem. But when you come out through the front door, you got to put a different tongue on. And speak properly. You gotta go next door and tell Kim and Jill, speak like he's talking to Jackie and Robert and Karen. You have to speak a different language to Kim and Jill next door. Yeah, Justin couldn't get it, but I did. But he didn't care, Your granddad couldn't care less. But I did. I as I said, I know how to turn it and speak properly. Yeah, and that's only because of back home, where I was working with those children, made me click and think. can't go to another country and talk to the children the way you talk to your children. Here, you got to speak properly. That's what my auntie call it, speaking properly.
Having a conversation with my nan was so insightful and I learned a lot from it. What is code switching or using my white voice to me is referred to as speaking properly, proper English, or changing tongue to her. And secondly, her code switching is definitely used with a sense of agency. I don't know why I didn't expect to hear that, but I'm glad that I did. It's out of convenience for her as she shows people that she has the ability to communicate with them the way that they can understand her. She really used code switching to her advantage, especially in the workplace. And it's very clear that code switching and the workplace is definitely a recurring theme throughout my investigation. But to round off my research, I want to think about the future of code switching in the UK. Will we come to a place where we don't need to or want to use it? Will this generation and the one to come change how and why we use code switching? I asked everyone I interviewed this very question, and here are the answers.
Never.
Really?
Never, ever.
No. I feel like we're definitely always going to need to code switch. It's always going to be having to compromise and do this for the other.
It's impossible. When you try and move to a different place, you just have to learn everything about them. So yeah, I don't think code switching is going to stop.
I think later on down the line, it's going to be a thing where, no, this is me, this is my culture, this is my name, this is how you say it, this is how I'm going to talk, this is how I present myself. Like, you know, I think that a lot more. So yeah, so I think in the future, it'll be accepted more.
I'm not gonna lie. It will be some people still code switching because obviously people are still gonna be migrating and still trying to integrate into the British culture. Then do you know what I mean? So it's still always gonna be there. However, just for like the generation now, especially those being born and raised in Britain, won't need it as much.
There isn't one definitive answer because who actually knows? But here's my concluding thoughts. We're always going to need it, but you can determine how you use it. Use code switching from a place of empowerment.